Good morning, everyone. I am Richa Sehra, founder and editor-in-chief Responsible Hospitals, and today I would like to welcome all of you on our Insta Live channel. So, as you all know, that I always come up with a different topic every weekend, and this time it's going to be very different because this topic is more like a life-changing journey of a doctor who is a pediatrician, and we're going to talk about more deep facts and a lot of myths which people think because he's a writer and a blogger. I think that's something which is going to give a lot of insights about your journey of a doctor. So I will be having Dr. Shishir with me live. I'll be just adding him soon and we'll start right there. So I'll just try to add him. So this is for females who have little kids, toddlers, newborn babies. I think for them this is going to be a very great session. You all can actually write it down. Your questions you can ask and we can write there, take those questions here as well. See if you can see me online. If yes, then please try to add yourself. Good morning, Dr. Shishir. How are you doing?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Namaste. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. So Dr. Shishir, it's such a pleasure for being with you because we have been doing a lot of topics regarding the technical topics, I would say. But this time I found it very interesting because we're going to talk about your journey as a writer and blogger because there are a lot of pediatricians already. But I really want to know that how do you get time for writing, first of all?
Well, first of all, it's entirely my pleasure to be here, to be amongst friends and all social media friends here. This question has been put up to me quite a number of times. How do I get? Yeah. So recently, one friend of mine, she asked when I met her in the party, she said, Shishir, how do you get time for this? But that was in a different context because I had shot a video which was I had prepared a cooking dish and that's but then I said, this is what in my free time I go to the hospital. Rest of the time I'm here. I'm doing everything like this. So jokes apart, but if you are really passionate about something, you really get time for that. The time it doesn't matter. So like if somebody says like if a man has a why to live for, he will sustain anyhow. So for me, writing is like my why for life. So writing, reading, everything. So if you're really passionate about things, the time is not a matter. So
absolutely, I totally agree with you. Sure. So doctor, here we're going to talk about your upcoming book, which is like, for all the parents, I would say, if I'm not wrong, and for all the new parents, right? So you can just talk about it more. What is the title of the book?
Okay. There is a slight correction. This is not about the parenting book. It's okay. So it's like a reflection of my life, more to say, but it is as much a reflection of a medical student's life. So the book is divided into two parts. Part one is my journey through the medical college, is a journey of a normal medical student as he goes through his training process. And part two is a memoir. It's my own experience, a bitter truth of my life. So I have sort of combined those two, and that's it. So it's for everybody, but so it's for a doctor who's going into the medical practice, for students, and also for fathers and parents who go through this emotional turmoil in their lives. So it's for them. So it's not a parenting book as such.
Understood.
It's like, it's a combination of fiction and a memoir.
So what is the title of that book?
The book is called Rage Against the Dying of the Light. So fortunately, I have a copy of it. It's a dummy book at present. The original version is not yet out, but then this is, it's lovely, isn't it?
Awesome.
So this is called Rage Against the Dying of the Light. So it's like when I was searching for the title, I wanted a title which can represent my journey, as well as it could be representative of the entire medical fraternity. So any doctor who's trying to go through this phase of saving the life of a patient he goes through that rage, that anguish, that anger, that pain. So it should be representative of both. So when I came across this is from one of the very famous poem by Dylan Thomas, if you have heard of that. See, don't go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage, rage against the dying of the light. So it's taken from that. That's the title.
Sure, sure. So, where I got to know that there is a life-changing experience in your journey. Can you talk more about it? What was that, and what is the learning?
Well, without giving any spoilers to the book, but I'll say, see, 10 years ago, my son had a very life-threatening disease. He caught suddenly out of the, everything was fine. I mean, we are going through our life journey. I have completed all my struggles. I was looking, I mean, having a prospect of a good life. Then suddenly he was diagnosed. He fell ill, and then those 5-6 months, I was running around for the diagnosis first of all. Then when the diagnosis was evident, then I was looking for the cure. So 10 years down the line, those things were a little different in that domain of the disease which we are talking about. So there were not only the emotional and the physiological strain upon us, but also there were some administrative blocks, and then the attitude of the profession also. I mean, even my professional. So I thought there was something lacking in there. So it took me around 10 years time to overcome all those emotional disturbances.
Hello? I can't hear you. Your voice is gone. Hi, doctor? I can't hear you at all. I think you're on mute or something. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Your voice is gone. Guys, I think there's a technical issue. I'll just try to add him once again. Just a minute, guys. Yeah. I'll just try to add him once again, and then we'll restart it ASAP. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah,
That's okay. Sorry. Please go ahead. So you were saying that it took you about 10 years to overcome and to find out.
Then I thought I'll share this journey with the rest of the world, and so that anybody going through that phase probably could have some sort of help, if at all they can. See, sharing relieves you a lot. So that was the purpose.
Okay. So what do you think because since on our platform we get a lot of parents and they also need advices, and they also find some serious issues with their kids or babies, I would say, but they are quite skeptical and they want to keep themselves very relaxed, saying that this is okay, this is normal. So they don't want to accept it maybe. So what do you think about them, and what are your suggestions about it?
If at all there are, I mean, unfortunately and fortunately, they don't have to go through. I wish nobody has to go through similar situations in this regard. But then, if you have, you should seek help, and you should accept. I mean, first of the thing, whenever you have a situation like this, the first thing that comes is the denial. No, nothing is not possible. It's not happening with me. Then it comes why it's happening. I mean, why me? Why my kid?
Why me? Yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
that's a question which I have been, that's been haunting me for quite some time. But frankly speaking, there are not many clear answers for that, neither in science or genetics or rationality. So you have to accept it. That is the only thing. You have to accept that pain or suffering is an ineradicable part of our life. So it's like I say, life is a set of tasks. Okay. So suffering is also a task. So if you want to sail through that phase, you have got to perform your best to complete that task. That is the only way you can, as somebody said, see, there's only one thing that I fear, not to be worthy of my own suffering. So that's the idea. I mean, you have to go through it. You have to accept it. And whenever you find there's overwhelming, you're getting overwhelmed with this emotional state, you need to seek help. Whether it's your friends or your family or your doctors, or if not, I mean, people like me who've gone through this similar phase, they'll support you. So you see around that this is not only you. It is probably an act of randomization. So there are so many things in life, so many diseases you can catch on, so many organisms you can be hit by. But and in your life, you've got to get one or the other of the diseases. So it's a not natural process. So you have to accept it and move on. That's the only thing I can say
Sure,
with my
because
experience.
people think, that these pediatricians are very lucky because they can actually take care of their child really well. They would know each and everything, and we as new parents, like, very skeptical that what to give them, what not to give them, what to do, what not to do. So why? I mean, your journey is something which is like a lesson for everyone. It's not magical thing everywhere. There are, pros and cons to each and every field, right?
Yeah, there are pros and cons to each and everything, and you have to learn to accept everything that comes in life with a positive attitude. About the parenting, I'll say there are many issues when you are a new parent. See, earlier there were joint families, so you had the experience of your elders coming in to guide you. But now with the urbanization and people moving to cities and nuclear families more there. So that kind of, you got to understand things. You've got to be patient with the children. Children are as much a human being as us. So only thing is that they cannot express it. So you have to look for certain signs. If there are any danger signs, if your child is not behaving the way it should, I mean, normal child is expected to behave in that particular age group, then you've got to take help. Otherwise, it's like only love and care that you've got to give them, and everything that takes care. You cannot be too positive, too possessive, or you cannot be too dominating to them. That's the only thing that I can say.
Sure. So when was the time when did you realize that you would want to write a book?
See, my writing journey, frankly speaking, the words have been haunting me since the day I was born. I mean, they have been pounding at me, they have been tapping me, but they have been eluding me also. So I've not been an overly expressive kind of a guy when it comes to expressing my own sentimental things. So writing this was a way to express those unexpressed sentiments towards my friend, the family, the friends, my college friends, my teachers, everyone. But there was a bigger purpose to it also. That is to connect with similar people who have going through this kind of a phase, or they have gone through this kind of phase. That's why I started, if you know, that I started a support group for parents whose child have been, critically ill or chronically ill. So then, this idea is that we share our emotions with each other, and we sort of, in any way possible, help each other. Whether it's as a doctor, as a father, or just as a human being, if I can reach out to them and probably tell my stories and listen to their stories, that will probably help. So that came. So probably I think 2 years back I decided that I should be writing this book. I used to write a few blogs. I've written initially, initially when I started writing, it was way back in school. I was, I used to write only Hindi poems, a few of them. Then when you get into those medical schools, it's so consuming, so absorbing that that writing thing had taken a back seat. 4 5 years down the line, I was just this laptop was new, and I thought I should design something. So I thought I started designing my own website. And when I designed a primitive kind of a website, I'm not that technological guy. So there was something that I wanted to post something. I mean, you have to post them. You have designed a website. What do you do? You got to create a post. So there were so many anecdotes in my own journey as a doctor. So I started writing them, and the people started appreciating those journeys. I've written a few anecdotes and few my opinions about the matters mostly related to the medical practice or in general. So I got a good response from there. So that really initiated me to do. Then this thing has happened. It was there in my mind. All those emotions were getting pent up in that. So I had to, not. I cannot just
way, I think when you really want to come out with your emotions, people say that writing is the best way to
get
for
me
out.
Definitely it is. For me, definitely it is. It's a stress buster.
So how have you been your journey as a doctor since you started as pediatrician? How was your journey so far?
See, my educational journey started. I mean, initial childhood was in Allahabad. Then I moved to Delhi to complete my schooling for modern school Barakamba. Then I went to Bombay to complete my medical schooling. And after that, initially I had initial glitches like there with everyone. So I moved to a couple of places like Noida, then to Bareilly and Dadri. And then finally, 15 years ago, I started my own medical center here. So as a doctor, my journey has been entirely satisfying to say that because I have worked in both the kinds of places, even in the rural areas like Dadri, or the top-notch hospitals like in Bombay. I had worked in the Nair Hospital and then the Holy Spirit. So I had really seen both. I mean, with the resources and infrastructure to match your expectations, and without anything. Like in Dadri, you are totally up to you. So there's nothing. Even I had to see the adult patients also at times, even if you are a pediatrician, because there's no other doctor there, especially in the night. So that way, and I had seen all those cases. I have managed patients in NICU, and so that way, my journey has been entirely, satisfying in that sense. But then, medical profession is such that that gives you an opportunity to connect with people. I mean, you have a professional authority for which they come, they seek your help, and they need your help. Not only in the medical sense, but then they share your stories with you. Their family stories also at times. And if you are good, if you are listening to them in a compassionate way, they'll share their stories. So that's a very satisfying part of it. So if you can get into somebody's life and be of some help to them or some fruitful way, can transform them, that's a very satisfying thing. So I'm glad that both my work like as a doctor and as a writer have been really satisfying for my inner self.
Awesome, that is awesome. I've got a question. Positivity comes by situation naturally, or one need to practice positively or intentionally? One need to practice positivity intentionally. Yeah, that's the question.
Okay. So it's like you cannot really practice it positively, but you have got to have a positive attitude towards understanding certain problems. You cannot just do that. I'll be positive kind of an attitude. Yeah. But then you have to scare away all those negativity in this. You have to be rational in whatever you approach. So if you are every time haunted by the negative attitude, then probably you will not be able to find the right solutions if you are looking for. So I guess it's a mix of both. You have to have a conscious effort to be positive, but then it's not a skill that you just learn by intentionally doing it every time. So you have got to take conscious note of it that you are doing whatever you're doing, you are sincere in your effort. Yeah.
People say that doctors need to control their emotions. So what's your take about it? Because your journey was a little different than the other doctors, I would say.
Well, see, doctors like any other human being, they are emotional stuff. So emotions are both. You have positive emotions and your negative emotions. So with time, we are conditioned to not to display our negative emotions, because that can have consequences. That can have consequences for you and for your patients. So if you are very emotional and especially in situations when you are dealing with the emergency room situations or in critical situations, so it can have two possible effects. That is, two negative impacts. One, that can hamper your decision making, and the second thing is that you yourself can be, get burned out emotionally and physically. You are already involved. So if you are emotionally also involved, that can drain you out. But having said that, a certain bit of emotion is definitely needed. You cannot, a cold heart cannot be a compassionate heart. And if you are not compassionate enough, you definitely can't care for patients. So with time, you have to learn to have a fine balance between having emotions and not to be overwhelmed by it at times also.
Sure, sure. So, doctor, you were just mentioning about that you also run a group to share thoughts. What was that group and how is it relevant for our kind of audience? If you can talk about it more, maybe.
So I started this group where I wanted to connect with people. So if any parents, anybody who's got a child who's been ill critically or who is now going through this phase, and if they find that themselves they are kind of helpless and they are emotionally drained, that there are issues in the family, there are issues which they cannot disclose it to their parents, or if their doctors are not giving them enough, if they're not able to extract enough from their doctors. I'm sure the doctors are doing everything that is right for them to do. But even then, see, I had a very fortunate life in that sense that I am a doctor. I understand the medical aspect of the diseases that way. Plus, my friends are doctors. Plus, I had a very supportive family and friends. So it was kind of easier for me to sail through that. But I tell you, that is a very difficult position to be in that place. It's not easy going through that way. So if you have somebody you can share your emotions with, if you have somebody you think it can neutrally help you,
Of course.
So that is the forum, and that forum is people, certainly people who've gone through that phase, a similar phase, not exactly the same diagnosis, but the similar phase. So they can come together. We can share our stories. So since the time I started, I'm fortunate that many people have called me and they have sort of shared their stories with me. Many of my close friends also. So I didn't know that what's happening in their life in that way. But then they started telling me. See, they have gone through that. Their father was, ill, chronically ill, and they had a bad patch in that time, and they were. So that way, I'm very fortunate that people are thinking of me as a worthy person to do that. So if not me or any of there are many other groups, there are many other people. If you look around yourself, you'll find someone like this.
True.
So you can share with them. That is the whole idea of creating this group, a parent or a patient support group. So that's a kind of a bridge between your doctors and the patient there. So if you need something, if you don't understand a certain aspect of the disease, and if you think that you need a certain more clarification, probably you can join them that group, and you can discuss among ourselves. I, in my own capacity, can I don't say that I know everything. Of course, nobody knows that. So cannot be. That thing might not be related to my field also. But then, as a doctor, I'll try and find out and things, and then let you know. That's there.
Which is a great help and support, I would say, which is a great initiative. So what is the name of that group?
That's a patient support group for parents of children who have been critically ill or chronically ill.
Is it available on Facebook or?
Yeah, it's there on the Facebook. You can join them.
Sure. And someone is asking a question. One second. Sometimes just the fact that someone else also share your emotion gives so much confidence. Yes, that's true.
That's the whole
And
idea, precisely.
yeah, then somebody's asking how one can self-help to accept and deal the difficulties of life if there is no support available.
So again, that's the bigger purpose of creating this group and
I
bigger
think that group
purpose
will
of
definitely
writing
help
this. So
people.
there are
Yeah.
people, you don't think that there's nobody to help you. There are people, there are friends, there are only thing that you've got to reach out to them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
And this is the
if you
great
think that there's
initiative
nobody
Dr.
else,
Shishir.
then that's the end of it. So that is the whole idea, to create this, to inculcate that feeling that there are people who will, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have that kind of friends. So there are people for in every life. I mean, in everyone's life, there are certain people who can definitely and will definitely help you. And if there is nobody, if you can, then you can join groups like this. I'm sure there may be many other groups like this. So for every specific disease, also like you have thalassemia groups or you have whatever. So you can join them and you can have your support from there.
Sure. So my last question to you is that what kind of advice you would want to give it to the parents who are facing such challenges as critical illness, or what do you think, what kind of steps they can take immediately? What are your messages for them?
No, as I said, first of the foremost thing is to accept that. I mean, don't be in the phase of denial for too long. And don't get into this guilt also, that why me, or why, I mean, have I done something wrong? So first and the foremost thing is to accept that. So once you accept that the suffering is an ineradicable part of your life, and you have to go on with this journey, then comes that you have to perform that task. So that is the only thing which I'll say that will help you the most. Once you accept that, and when you start thinking rationally in that particular and not just being brooding over your situation for too long, so that will help. And then there are people who can definitely help you if you have to reach out to them. If there at all there is a need, then you'll need to. So otherwise, if you are really getting too emotionally worked up or emotionally overwhelmed, you can start reading. See, literature illuminates one's experience, but it also provides the richest material for moral reflection. So that is the time for moral reflections. That time, I think you need all these moral and spiritual reflections more than any other time. So I think that's the way.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Shishir. I think it's such a overwhelming experience for all of us to have you,
Thank
because
you,
it's
thank you. The
such a
pleasure was
different kind
entirely
of
mine, I
topic.
think.
It's such a
Thank you,
different
thank
topic
you.
which we did for the first time, and I found it very interesting because, as you said, the something which we get weaker on is the emotion thing. And people like you who are running such groups can actually take a big help. And even when you share things with people, that also really consoles. So that's a great initiative. I would really like to congratulate you for that. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
thank you.
Thanks for being with us. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.